Welcome to the second video for the Monday class session. This video will be about an essay by Migene Gonzalez-Wippler, whose title is Yoruba from the Santeria Experience. Basically, this is almost like a story that the author is telling us about when she was very young, actually 5 years old, and her family at the time was going to throw a party for her to celebrate the fact that she was turning 5. And the day when that was to happen, Maria, the person who was working for the family at home, she took the little girl to mass, to I guess the church, Catholic church, so that they both were inside the church praying. That took place for a few minutes. And the Maria, the servant, was using her rosary to pray the litanies, as the writer describes it. And then she took the girl out of the church. They both got on a bus, but before getting back home, it was like 10 minutes before getting back home, the Maria made the bus stop, and they went, got off the bus, went on to beach. Once they were next to the ocean, the Maria makes sure that the little girl is naked, facing probably sideways because of what the text says, the ocean. And at this moment, a second ceremony takes place, this time in relation to Yemaya, a deity that should and will, according to Maria, protect the little girl, Migene. And then after the ceremony is ascended, and both kind of relax, the little girl, gets dressed and remembers the party that her family is throwing for her, and runs to runs to get the the next bus passing by. And that's the way the story ends. When I was curious about Migene Gonzalez-Wippler, okay, and I went to the end of the book, and on page 351, my curiosity had to do with, who is this person? What is her profession? Why is she talking about this in particular? Okay, religiosity in Puerto Rico, the Catholic side and the Afro-Puerto Rican side, right? With the religious traditions coming from Africa. Well, I found out on page 351 that Migene is a national expert of the Santeria religion. She's the author of Santeria, African Magic in Latin America, and lectures around the nation, I guess, on the topic. So we're not talking about just anybody knowing something about the subject, but somebody or who has experienced, right, a connection to Santeria. But we're talking about somebody who's written extensively, it seems, and also lectured probably in colleges, schools, and so on and so forth. In case you're curious about Santeria, I found this page on Wikipedia describing what Santeria is all about. Also known as Regla de Ocha, Regla Lukumi or Lukumi, is an African diasporic religion, which is coming from Africa, right? That notice developed in Cuba between the 16th and 19th century. So the religion is spread out in the Caribbean to other islands, other communities and places. Also, a second point that is important to mention here, it arose through a process of syncretism between the traditional Yoruba religion of West Africa and the Roman Catholic form of Christianity. And by syncretism, of course, we are referring to the mixing of religions, right? The embedding of one religion into another religion, and transactions that took place between a predominant or dominant religion, as was the Catholic, right? And really a religion that was uh, coming from the ground up, mm-hmm, from people who were Afro-descendant uh, in the island of Cuba, and then Puerto Rico, and so on and so forth. So that syncretism is quite important because it entails that the communities were adamant about keeping and developing, right, these traditions, although these practices were suppressed, were not supposed to exist, right? Santeria is polytheistic, involving the veneration of deities known as Orisha, right? So there are plenty, it seems, of Orishas. And I think in this case, in the story that we are referring to, we are just talking about one of them, only one of them, according to what Migene says. So at the beginning of the essay, it says that she was, I guess she was born in Arecibo, a location in Puerto Rico. And then it says that in the late 1940s, when I was 3 years old, my mother hired Maria, a Black woman of mammoth proportions, to be my nanny. Maria's skin was like shiny mahogany with almost iridescent tones, and her smile was radiant, I never saw Maria's angry or sad, she says, and so on and so forth. So they both have a pretty good relationship. She was somebody she felt she could trust, right? When on page 258, she says that Migene, that she was thrilled, that this party was going to happen because she was turning 5. But early in the morning, Maria dressed me in an all-white dress and took me to mass. And here is where, this first ceremony takes place. After mass was over, Maria brought me to an altar over which stood a statue of the Virgin Mary. And while I knelt down before the image, Maria pulled from her capacious handbag a large wooden rosary, and then started saying, the litanies. So here we have the first female religious representation that is transcendental, the Virgin Mary, right? That is clearly part of the religion brought over by the Spaniards to the island of Puerto Rico, and that Puerto Ricans also embraced. But this is not enough, right? This is not enough. For what I think Maria is doing is trying to create a ceremony that will ensure Migene is protected from anything that may now place her life in danger. It's like Maria knows that now she's turning 5, right? And she will need this protection. And as Maria does something so that she goes through the ritual or ceremony, this child will be on her own. And notice, the first step is the Catholic Virgin Mary. So it is essential. She's not disregarding that. She's saying, we need to do this. This is part of the first step or the essentials for you to be, to have a beautiful life, to be protected, to be safe, okay? From now on and in your future. Perhaps, and she was, Maria, thinking that perhaps she before had her mom, or she had Maria herself, right? To be taking care of the child. But that's no longer enough, as we can see. Also, interestingly, notice how here the girl is surrounded by images of women, okay, that come to protect her and make sure that her path is a path of happiness, okay, or strength, I would say, right? Strength for her future. Um, what else? Well, so they as I was saying, they take the bus. Migene thinks that they are going back home to the party, but no, they stop before they go to the beach. And as soon as they get there, right? She says on page 260, when we finally arrived at the water's edge, Maria set her parcels down, closed her parasol, and then calmly proceeded to tear the clothes from my body. I felt not shame. Maria washed and dressed me every day and put me to sleep every night. But the child didn't know exactly what was going on. And that's why she says later on, a certain ominous authority that made me feel destitute. Okay, there's something awkward happening here. I don't know what is going on. What is she doing? Why are we here? Why is she undressing me? And so on and so forth, right? Um, well, Maria will have to give her a good number of explanations or reasons along the way, right? For this to be making sense. Um, and she says on page 261 to start with the explanations, second paragraph, third paragraph, you need protection and only God and the blessed lady can give it to you and give you her blessings. And she had, I guess, a handbag, and she was getting stuff out of it. And every item will be part of the ceremony that will take place now near the ocean, okay, by the beach. Um, page 262. And let me see, in here, I think she's mentioning, yes, page 261, actually, she mentions Yemaya, right? The deity that that has that is the reason, the main reason for Maria to bring Migene over to the beach. She will make sure that there is deep contact between Migene and Yemaya. And page 262, it is the name of the lady in African, in Yoruba. My mommy, my mother, taught it to me. And now my little flower, that is Migene, your black mommy teaches it to you. So I'm passing this on to you because this is part of my religious tradition and practice. And this deity, Yemaya, in fact, has been protecting me all the time. And I thank my mom, right, every day for allowing me to be connected to Yemaya. And so this was a gift from my mom, and this will be my gift to you. At the same time, what we can see is that as we know, Maria did not ask for permission, right? This is done in secrecy. It's like there's one side, right, that is public, and then this second side that may not be well accepted. We're talking about 1940s, right, as she says at the beginning. And it's clear to me also that Migene's family does not necessarily participate in this tradition. It's only through Maria that this girl has access to the two sides of the religious practices in Puerto Rico. If we have only two, maybe there are more, right? But we have two main and powerful traditions blending together here. So what else? Well, she goes through the ceremony, okay, doing all the steps. Next, Migene recalls an event, a situation that took place when a boy died in the ocean, and his mother coming from Santo Domingo, went on a boat, and she called on the help of Yemaya precisely, and the body um, resurfaced. Okay, like this was a miracle, and people were amazed. It was, at the, because they have been looking for this body for many days, and they have given up, and then this takes place. So this story is like to reinforce the power of Yemaya, and also notice the Caribbean commonality in terms of beliefs. Um, and then we come back, right, to the ceremony in the beach. It begins to end. Florecita, we are here, page 265. Florecita, we are here for a reason. We're here to learn, to become better so that we can enjoy that other better life. If we are bad here, we don't go to the better life after this one. Instead, we have to come back again and again until we learn to good. So this reminds me of a different belief, right? That you need to go through different lives because you have not reached perfection somehow. Um, and then that's why it is so important that's the Buddhist tradition, right? Buddhist belief. But in this case, we're talking about an African tradition, a different religious practice. But it's the same idea, right? Behave well, be a good person right here, right now, because um, you don't want to have to come back because you have not conducted your life according to the religious practices and being a good human being, right? A decent human being, and so on and so forth. Mm, to my lips, page 265, came a question that was burning in my mind. Maria, why did you turn my clothes? Important question. She looked at me briefly, and Maria replies, why? Because you had to be presented to Yemaya without clothes, like a newborn baby. I tore the clothes to tell Yemaya you gave up your old life and wanted to start living again with her as your mother, right? Um, page 266. But who is Yemaya? Asked the child. Is it the ocean, the sea? Maria replies, Yemaya is the Yoruba name of the Virgin Mary. Syncretism, as you can see, right? So you can look at the Virgin from this side or from that side, and we get to have this fusion in the iconic image of the Virgin, right? Uh, she's the mother of all, of whites and blacks, or yellows and greens, of everybody. But in Africa, she's always black because the people there are black. And she wants them to know she's black, black too. And the child replies, but Maria, the Virgin is not black, she's white. I've seen her in the church. No, Florecita. So we have this dialogue about um, color, right? Color. And then the Maria started instructing the child to see all the angles of the figure. And because actually that's what Maria does, right? When she looks at Virgin Mary, she's also looking at Yemaya. She doesn't split the two. On the contrary, she imbricates the two together. And this is the experience of many, I think, many religions that were suppressed by the religions that were dominant in specific countries. Because these practices, again, were not allowed, then um, the communities uh, were under this um, hegemonic religious perspective, institutional perspective, right? Have to find a way to express themselves and their own traditions. And instead of, because they were persecuted, because they were ostracized, they were not going to find, a different location for them to have their practices happening. So what did they do? They brought them all into the churches, And you can see it right now here in the essay. That's what precisely is happening when she says, no, the Virgin Mary, right, has many colors. And I'm quoting, she has many colors. And the child even says, at the end, well, but I'm white, okay? And Maria again says, no, you are not. And the way I interpret that is, you are not white, you're not black. She says, you are a precious human being, right? For whom these practices are vital in the sense that they will give you a future, right? Give you a faith, give you respect for what is sacred, okay? For what we hold sacred here in Puerto Rico. There are more details, okay? But I'm not going to go into more details because I gave you plenty of them. Just one more thing. Of course, as I was reading, I thought, of course, from the viewpoint of a specific religion that is dominant in the country, this was looked upon like sacrilegious. I was seen as something that should be prevented from happening, as I was saying. Okay, so what we have in here is a clash, indeed. Okay, a clash between dominant perceptions of religion and subordinated practices, religious practices, and that's the clash. And traditionally, as you also know, for the religious practices of Native Americans were not considered as such, right? It was thought that they had to be taught the true religion, okay? They should embody different practices that were the ones that were solid, coming from a European tradition, okay? So basically, that's the essay, and I will post one more for Wednesday as I promised.